So you can think of duality as a game. Um, as a, and it's kind of like the Indian idea of the world as Leela, as a play of, a production, a play, like a theater play or a dance. Just this ongoing kind of process that is just happening or appearing to happen, because essentially it's not happening. So I'm saying it's a game. You can think of it as a game. The duality being the sense of me being alive, being in a world, having an experience, which I call life. So you can think of it as a game. Duality is the game, the big thing going on, how it is, how it looks, how it shows, as me and my experience, essentially. So the form of the game is that. And it seems like there's like 8 billion human games and infinite number of other maybe kinds of games in terms of individuated consciousnesses, animals and plants and planets and whatever, or beings. I don't know if they're conscious. Forget consciousness. We don't need that word, but I mean, it seems like there's all these things, but essentially it's just this game of me. I mean, that's all is known, is this experience of me, right? And all of those things I just mentioned, all the different, iterations of entities or beings are just known through this aperture of me. But you can think of it as a game. And then there's something that isn't the game, which we call the non-dual, the big unnameable mystery that everything is. And there's no game to that. There's no anything to it. There's no structure to it. There's no form. So it's not a game. A game is something that has rules. It has a player. It has it's a process. There's the playing of the game is the process, and there's a goal to it. There's a direction to the activity. That's what makes it a game. It's organized in that way. And there's we could add on other qualities to it. Maybe there's winners and losers. There's ways to play the game well or not well. All this is kind of part of that structure of the game. That's what makes it a game. Maybe some games are a little more loose. Maybe there's games that, don't involve all of that. But basically, it involves a player and an experience of going through the game and some direction to it, some meaning to the activity. And like I say, it tends to bring in these things like winning and losing, doing it well or not well, performing. But essentially that's what duality is. It's a game of you could just say it's an activity. But there's a goal, and there's a process, and there's a player, one who's in the game, playing the game. So that's the experience of duality. That's me. Me as the player in the game. And that's, when we talk about non-duality, we're pointing out that that's as real as it appears, as real as the experience appears, to be the one in the game, this me, this real occurrence of this game going on, as real as that experience is, it's actually not real. Because what isn't the game. It's not a game. It doesn't have all these things that I was just mentioning. It doesn't have rules. It doesn't have meaning. It doesn't have a location of a game board or a field. It doesn't have a process to it, a goal. It doesn't have a person, a player moving and playing the game. That's not here. That's all the construction of the game. This duality produces all of that as an illusion, as an appearance. But what's just here isn't anything that's organized in that way. It's completely unrecognizable as anything. Completely free, completely simply what it is, without being able to say what it is, describe it, or put it into a context. I mean, that would be a game, right? If you could, you'd be setting up a game of comparing what it is to what it isn't, or what this is to what this over here maybe is, and how they how they look together, how they relate in description. That isn't here. What's here is, you can't say it. And it's not in the form of one thing against another thing. Two things rubbing together to make something else. That's all the duality. That's the game. What can I make by putting this with this, and how does this thing go with this thing? Do they fight? Do they make love? Do they dance? What do they do? And how does it turn out? And what's the result? That's all the duality. That's the life. That's the game, the appearance. And what is all of that, but it's not limited to that game. There's no game to it. There's nothing to it. It's not moving, one thing moving against another. It's not, there's no story being told. There's no journey being, undertaken. There's nothing arrived at. There's nothing begun. There's nothing changed. All of that is the game. That's in duality. And duality is the way all these stories get told. And we have language, and we have knowing. These basic, building blocks of the story and of the game. Okay, and the game is an appearance. Again, a lila, a dance, a play. But it's just the way things appear. But again, what they are, you just say, to use these funny words, appear and is, what is just as it is, without a description, without any words that describe it, without a story. Because no story is getting built here. This is just always just what it is. And that's the end of the story. If you call that a story, well, that's what we call no story. Just what it is and not nameable, not sayable, not describable, not locatable, not usable, not appearing. Just what it is. And not with any second thing. So in the duality, in the dream, in the play, as I'm saying, the game, there is a second one, which is me. I'm the one that's seeing it all. So I'm apart from it. There's this, and then there's me, the second one, the one that it's all happening to, the one that's the subject of the game, the player, the one who can win and lose, the one who can go from this square to that square, quickly or slowly or gracefully or clumsily. That's the second one. Again, when you have a second one, then you have a game. If there's nothing else in just the non-dual mystery of what is, there's nothing else. There's no second thing. So again, there's no game. And that's what there is. That's what is. Unless you put on the costume and start playing the game, so to speak. In other words, you start being the one with the experience of me. Then that starts the game. And that's the experience that we all know. I mean, me in my life. But the point is, me in my life doesn't cancel the mystery. It doesn't cancel reality, natural reality that isn't separate. And that's kind of the essence of this non-duality talking business, the communication, is that the perspective of me, the perspective of the game, the player in the game, seems like my game has canceled everything else, canceled the everything, canceled the non-separation, the unknowability, my knowledge of what this game is and how it is, and what I can do as a player. My knowledge of all that has canceled all of this unknowability, all of this mystery, all of this oneness, all of this wholeness. It's canceled it all, replaced it with another regime, another reality. You could call it a virtual reality if you want. I mean, we call it a dream, we call it an illusion. It is all of those things. But essentially, it's just my experience seeming to be what is and seeming to cancel, like I say, all of the unlimitedness of this. Cancel the freedom of just natural what isness seems to be canceled by this experience of me. And so that's what's really to be shared here, if there is anything. There isn't any cancellation. It can't be canceled. What isn't cancelable. It doesn't happen. That's an illusion. So it seems to have, replaced the mystery with this world that I know, this experience, this knowledge. Seems to override the mystery. That's the basis of it. That's the essence of the confusion of duality, of me. Me is the experience that I I'm the new king here, the new boss. I've arrived and I've replaced the mystery with all of my knowledge of everything that's happening. My experience has now become reality. That's the illusion. It doesn't happen. It's not happening now. It can't happen. This experience of me, which is an experience of duality, me versus my life, me versus the world, me in conflict with everything, essentially, because it's imagined this separate thing. It's conjured it up, like through some kind of magic, created a separate thing, a separate experience, a separate entity, let's say, to be opposing to everything else. Creates the principle of opposition, the principle of separation, conflict, of difference, of me versus my experience, essentially. And this feeling of always trying to get with my own experience, with my own life, get synced up with my world, instead of being in conflict with it. I'm always out of sync. Again, that's the creation of me, creates a division, a separation. So that separated one, that created essence, or created one, is out of sync with everything else. And now the experience is trying to get back into sync, trying to get with it, trying to make it fit, make myself fit into my world, into my body, into whatever. I mean, it's endless. And it isn't anything specific. It isn't anything that's actually happening. But it's this feeling of being out of sync and needing to fit, to get it all to fit together, to fit in to my place. But it's a game. And there's no getting out of the game. There's no winning the game. There's nothing to do with the game. It's just a game, an appearance that goes on while it goes on. And it goes on for a while, and then it goes away. Like any game. I mean, what game lasts forever? Games don't last forever. Games are limited. Games are duality. Games are processes. Games begin and they end. Well, this game has an ending in a sense. There's nothing that the player in the game can do about that, but it can end when it ends, so-called ends, and then it seems that the game never happened. There's no change. There's no ending. There's no it's not like the regime is over with and then the new boss leaves or the old boss leaves and the new boss comes back in. No, it's just seen that it was a game. And there's just this. And it's always just this. So the game was just a game that seemed to appear. But this isn't a game. This is just what is. As it is, the mystery.